Number one online Christian radio station.
Can't believe that. Going it, man. Just hey. How y'all doing? Y'all got to excuse me for just a moment. Have you ever had a situation where you were supposed to have somebody do something, or maybe you were expecting something to happen, or you had your day planned, or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything changed on a moment's notice? How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel? How does it make you feel when you're reading information about something that was supposed to take place and now it's all canceled? What does that make you feel like? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about emotion and managing emotions. You got to hold on for just a second because I need to get myself together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now I'm back. Thank you for joining us today. This is Al. Coaching by Al is what you're watching on Worship Radio International. Some of you are watching by Facebook. Some of you are listening by TuneIn or SoundCloud. You're watching by YouTube, maybe at some later date. But for those of you that are here with us listening today and watching on Facebook, welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. We've got a hot topic today. Emotion, managing emotion. Whew, it's already hot in here. I'm telling you. And I'm not talking about the air conditioner either. It's on, it's working fine. But oh my goodness, what happens to us when things do not go our way? How do you handle it when things do not go your way? Oh my goodness, we can make a mountain out of a molehill. And that's what happens with emotion. So what we're going to talk about is how you can increase your bottom line by just learning how to get at least a better handle on your emotions. You might want to contact somebody. You might want to tell somebody, hey, listen, Al is talking about emotions, y'all. You might want to call your girlfriend. Hey, girl, you better turn on. Al is talking about emotions today. Yeah, because it's going to affect you. That's right. They already do affect you. And the thing is, we don't realize how bad they affect you. So text somebody, share this with somebody. I would appreciate it. Go ahead and share this. Be sure to like it today. If you enjoy what we're talking about, be sure to like this post as you're watching it, because we need to discuss emotion. I'm not just talking about emotion in the world. I'm talking about emotion in the church. I'm talking about emotion at work. I'm talking about emotion at home. I'm talking about personal emotion within you, in between two people, in between a group of people, inside of families. This thing is huge. And the issue is that so many times we do not handle our emotions. Or let me say it this way, to put a better title on today for those of you who are taking notes, and I'm pretty sure that somebody out there has to be taking notes. I hope you're taking notes. But managing emotions, because we fail to manage our emotions. Now that sounds like a whole lot of work, doesn't it? I mean, when you really think about it, who wants to sit around and try to diagnose, figure out, try to plan, try to section off this emotion and that thought and this thought, and then think about where did it stem from? How? Let me say this first of all before we go any further. I am not a psychiatrist, okay? That is not what a life coach does. A life coach is not a psychiatrist. A life coach does not go back into your past and try to help you figure out what happened and what took place in your life and all of those types of things. No, that's not what a life coach does. As a life coach, what I do is help people to listen closely to this. I help people to start where they are in life with what they already have and go forward with it. A psychiatrist is going to help someone figure out where they've been in life. Or in other words, what's gone on or what happened in their childhood or in earlier times and why that is having an effect on them now. And they dig in there and they help people to bring things to the surface that they never dealt with. And now they're trying to help this person find some type of absolution or some type of resolve with what took place so that they can get past it. Sometimes a person gets stuck somewhere. That's not what I do. I help you from where you are and how to get you moving forward. A lot of times this happens And I'm just talking about this for a moment so you can understand the basis of where I'm coming from, so that when we talk about emotions, you do not look at me as some type of psychiatrist. I have nothing against that. Sometimes we need mental help. Okay, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Sometimes it's a taboo word when we start talking about mental health and things of that nature. There's nothing wrong with getting some mental help. If you broke your arm and I saw your arm broken and you had nothing done about it yet, it would be crazy for me not to think or to say, hey, you need to get to the hospital and get some help for that arm. Or if I see you bent over in pain or you got a big cut on you, I would say you need to go get some help. But when we come to the issue of mental help or mental health, people tend to shy away from that because we feel like we don't want to, we don't want anybody to think we're crazy. No, it's not that. Sometimes it could be a myriad of things going on internally, not psychologically, physiologically. That's what I'm trying to say. Physiologically, that could cause us to have to need sometimes some mental health checkups or some mental health assistance. Okay, so I am just letting you know that I am not a doctor. I do not prescribe any type of cures. What I try to do is help people take the information that they know, how to improve on it, how to tweak it a little bit so that they can use it more effectively and then move forward. That's my goal. That's my job. That's what I do as a pastor. That's what I do as a life coach. Okay. So with that being said, the thing that I want to hone in on today is emotions. Emotions, as I said. When you fail to handle emotions or have a handle on emotions properly, it can cause all types of barricades to be placed in your life that you're placing in your life. It's not something that's placed by another person. It's not something that's placed by the system. It's not placed by the man. It's placed by you. So we need to figure out how to help you get from where you are, moving forward. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So again, tag somebody, let somebody know, hey, Al is talking about emotions, emotional management, managing emotions, however you want to title it, and then put it on your page. We're going to talk about some good things. Of course, I want to say hello to my beautiful wife who's out there in the lobby, and my daughter as well. They're out there in the lobby of the studio listening. And I want to say God bless you to my church family, God's Holy Temple Church, and then also to all of my brothers and sisters, friends, family, ministers, saints, and friends on Facebook and everywhere else. I love you so much. Thank you for watching. Listen, let's deal with this. Emotions run deep, okay? Now, if we start to take a look throughout history, tell me how many times you have seen, just let's just say, we won't even go throughout history. Let's talk about the last year. We can shorten it, last 6 months. Let's go further than that. How about the last 2 weeks? How many stories have you read about in the news? How many stories have you watched, perhaps, in the news where you notice that people who have not been able to deal with their emotional state has caused all type of issues? You read about it all the time. Every story in the news just about is dealing with somebody who failed to handle their emotions properly. One person says something to another person. This person hears it and takes it out of context, or the person says it wrong, and now this person over here is mad at this person because they heard something in a way that maybe this person didn't mean to say it, and now the fight breaks out. Now we have a criminal case. Now somebody's missing. Now there's a funeral. Now some folks are crying. Now there's a continual feud between two parties forever because of a misunderstanding and a mischecked emotion. That's the kind of issue I'm talking about. How many times have you heard about families being in crisis? Maybe you've heard about a person who was at work, or has this ever happened to you even? Have you ever been at work? For those of you who are customer facing workers, people who deal with customers directly, the end customer, or even the person who's buying from the company that you work for, and the two of you get into a disagreement on something that was so simple, but because of an unchecked emotion or unhandled emotion, one thing spun out of the way, led to another bigger escalated issue, and it was never a big deal in the first place. An emotional moment. Somebody said something, and it might not even had anything to do with you. Maybe you were just doing your job. Maybe you were just doing whatever you were doing that day, wherever you were, and boom, somebody comes at you all wrong, and now you are upset, the other person's upset, everybody is upset, and we got a bigger issue than we need. How many of you saw that fight that took place at Disney World? That absolutely frustratingly stupid fight that took place at Disney World because somebody said something to another person, and now everybody's upset or angry. We see fights all the time like that. We see issues not just on TV or social media, but in our own families, in our own lively practices, whatever it is that we do on a daily basis. If we don't learn how to handle and check our emotions, oh my goodness, we're going to have a tough time, y'all. I'm telling you. Listen, there was a movie that came out. I'm trying to think of how many years ago. I can't remember how many years ago. It was a recent movie, though. I guess in the last maybe 10 or 15 years, called Crash. Did anybody ever see that? Did you see that? In that movie, and I'm not suggesting that you go watch it or anything like that. I'm not endorsing it or not, or non-endorsing, if that's a word. What I am saying is, it was very interesting to me how they were able to show in this movie how sometimes we clash into each other, not knowing what one person was dealing with before we got to them or before they got to us. A person could have been dealing with what was probably the worst day of their life, and they bumped into you. And because you met them at that moment, you got a whole tidal wave of emotional outlet from them that you don't even feel you deserved. And because we don't think about for just a moment what could have possibly happened prior to you meeting that person, we have a tendency to absolutely take offense or defense. And now here we are fighting, whether verbally or physically. We go just to the extreme on things. This happens in marriages. This happens with parents and children. This happens with family members. This happens, and all of this goes as a result of somebody not knowing or understanding emotion or how it works or what they need to do to try to bring peace to a situation or figure out what's going on inside of them first before they respond. Remember last time we were here, and I talked about Anthony Lewis. I see you. God bless you. And Adaris, hey, I see you, man. God bless you. I love you now. Remember last time we were talking about how when if you don't handle your own self with discipline, you can affect others. Do you remember us talking about that? That's what goes on with unchecked emotion and unchecked issues. Now, on the same spectrum, if we can deal with that going from one end to the other, sometimes we make very small issues into very large issues. On the other end of that spectrum, we can take a very large issue that should be a big deal, but because, again, we don't know how to handle or manage our emotions, we have a tendency to minimize it too small when it's something that should be dealt with. For example, we talked about the one. Let's talk about an example of this one. Let's take a spouse, husband and wife. Very, very common, okay? One spouse says, "Can you do this for me?" The other spouse says, "Yes, I can." That spouse forgets, doesn't do it. It didn't seem like a big deal. I'll get to it later, whenever, whatever, it's no big deal. I'll handle it. To the other spouse, that was a huge issue for them, because it was something that was going to be very, very important at some later time or date. And now everything is thrown off because one thing was missed. How many times does that happen? Has that ever happened in your life? Has it ever happened in your family, perhaps? Something that should have been an important issue, we minimized it to the point where we didn't do anything about it, and now, you see what I'm saying? Now, anger has set up, frustration has set up, bitterness has set up, division has set up, discord has set up. Why? Because somebody did not take a situation seriously enough. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about here. So whether it's on a small, I won't say a small scale, but whether it's on the end of making a large situation small or making a small situation too big, either way can have a negative impact on us. And especially since I'm talking about the bottom line today, it can have a negative impact on us financially or resourcefully, because it can lock us out of opportunities. It can lock us out of growth. It can lock us out of upward movement or forward movement. It can lock us out of many things, because if you don't know how to handle your emotions properly, who can trust you? Okay? If you want scripture on this, there's a scripture that says that to everything there is a season. There's a time. There's a season for everything that goes on. There's a time to laugh. There's a time to cry. There's a time to sow. There's a time to reap. There's a time for everything under the sun. And in the same manner, emotions have to have their proper timing. And the better we get at managing our emotions, the better we get at having a more fulfilled life, a life where not only is it benefiting us and enhancing our experience here on this earth, but we also get an opportunity to enhance other people's experience on this earth, or at least to give them the opportunity to have an experience on this earth without our negative thrusting input on it because of our display. Am I talking too many big words and does it sound like it's wrapping around crazy? Let's break it down a little bit more. Okay. I tell young people, and I know it's funny for me to hear myself say I tell young people, because in my mind I guess I'm still young, but chronologically I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm not in my 20s anymore, right? So it's kind of weird for me to say that, but I tell young people something I've said for years. You have to know when to do what. If you know when to do what, you will always be considered responsible, respectful, and trustworthy. Let me give you an example. If you are at the library, okay? The library is a place of quiet, calmness, study, focus. You should not be dancing and going buck wild and laughing and having a good time just all loud without any consideration for the person next to you if you're at the library. Okay, so you should not be up dancing in the middle of the floor. Now, let's flip that. If you are at a dance, you should not be sitting in a chair, standing against the wall, being quiet, reading a book. You have to know when to do what. You understand what I'm saying? And if you know when to do what, those parental units, those people who are looking at you to determine whether you are responsible enough yet or trustworthy enough yet to be allowed to do more, they're watching that. And if you place it properly, you can get a lot more than you think you can. Okay? So if I'm looking at my child and my child knows how to behave at home and my child knows how to behave in public, then I am going to trust my child and I'm going to give them a little more latitude on what they are able to do, because I can trust that they are managing themselves properly. If my child is dancing in the library and reading a book at the dance, now we got a problem. There's some misplaced, displaced character that needs to be corrected. And until you can learn how to know when to do what, I cannot trust you very far. The same thing happens with our jobs. And I'm still talking about emotion, but I'm trying to help you see this this parallel or however you want to call it. Let's say, for instance, You're at work. How do you handle yourself at work? Do you handle yourself in such a way to where you're giving a good 8 hours worth of work, if that's how many hours you work, at your job? Are you going in just going through the motions, trying to make it look like you're doing something? You're arbitrarily turning knobs and you're arbitrarily pretending like you're typing when all of a sudden, if I walked up on you too fast, you're over here on your Facebook account or Instagram or something, and you're not really giving a full good day's service, but you're expecting to pay. Somebody is always watching. So what happens then? This is what Jesus said. He says, how can somebody give you your own business to run? I'm paraphrasing. If you cannot be trusted with somebody else's, how is God going to bless you with your own if you can't handle somebody else's? Right? So that's the same thing that's going on with this emotional thing that we're talking about. We have to learn how to handle our own emotions first. Because the better I can do so, the more I can be trusted with other people. For those of you who are looking to be leaders, for those of you who are looking to, whether it's minister or be in ministry, or whether you're looking to own your own business, whether you're looking to someday be able to have people working for you or employees, you have to be able to make sure that you are controlling your own emotions, okay? Because the moment you come in and you are totally off the scale, you are so undisciplined with your thoughts, guess what's going to happen? It's going to spill out from you onto others. Emotions are contagious. Emotions are contagious. Okay, if we were in church, the church world, we would say like this: the anointing. You don't want me to go there. Okay, I won't go there. Okay. Now, let's go back to some natural concepts. We have to deal with this thing. We have to deal with it. How do I learn how to handle or control my emotions? Well, first of all, you got to understand what emotions are and what they are not. You've got to understand what emotions are for and what they are not for. So what are emotions initially? Emotions, okay, if you want to get real technical, I'm going to say it the way they talked about it in the Matrix. It's electrical signals that are running throughout your body, running throughout your mind, running throughout your physiology. Electrical signals that are stimulated by impulses and reactions and actions and bombardment and all of that. And now it's your response to this stimuli. Okay? Is that scientific and techie enough for you? Now let's get down to some meat and potatoes. Emotions is your response to what you experience. Boom, there it is right there. Okay, so now with that being the case, let's look at this a little bit deeper. Someone walks up to you and smiles. In most cases, if you have a proper handle on your emotions, you are able to smile back at that person. You receive good, you give back good. Let's say somebody walks up to you and frowns. Your initial reaction may be to frown back. What you frowning at me for? What's the problem do you have with me? If we have healthy control or a healthy handle on our emotions, before we react, we will process, find out what's going on first, and then determine how we want to respond. We said it before, animals react. Humans respond, or should be able to respond. Humans have the ability to respond. It's called responsibility, right? Okay, so then, if I have the ability to respond instead of reacting, what it means is that I should not be just allowing anything and everything that comes at me to throw me off my square. If somebody comes at me and I feel like they're coming at me the wrong way, before I immediately go into attack mode on them, I should be able to think to myself, okay, is this person okay? Is something wrong? Is there something that I don't know about happening? Now, whereas I'm not saying you should not take evasive measures if you feel that you are coming under some type of physical attack. Of course, block, protect, duck, stop, drop, and roll. Okay. But if it's not that serious, then before you just react on somebody, figure out what's going on with them. And no, okay, it's not my responsibility, Al, to try to know what's going on with them. It's not my fault they came at me the way they did. That may be the case. But is it possible that maybe you could take this moment, help them control their emotional status because you have yours in control? That's where leadership comes in. That's where having a leadership attitude comes in. Well, I'm not trying to be anybody's leader. You don't have to be a leader. I'm not telling you to, take up a march across United States up to Washington. What I'm saying is, how can you help somebody else to better their situation because you have already taken time to prepare yourself for it? Okay? There was a gentleman, what was his name? His name is, I have it here. A gentleman who came up with what was called the wheel of emotion. Okay? And I don't know why my brain is locking up on me. But in this, what's said is the wheel of emotion. There are 8 basic emotions, okay? That's what has been said. And whether you agree with that or not, as far as, there's only 8 emotions. I'm not saying there's only 8 emotions. What I'm saying is there's 8 basic emotions based on the study that this gentleman did. Very well-known scientist. For those of you who do study psychology and things of that nature, then I'm sure you've heard his name. And it's Mr. Plunkett. Plunk, you know how to pronounce it, Plunkett. But anyway, the what he came up with was the 8 basic emotions, which are joy, sadness, fear, disgust, surprise, anticipation, anger, and trust. Well, those don't sound like the 8 basic emotions. Where's love in there? Where's, okay, no. Once you realize what has been listed, you'll find out where all of those kind of tie in. Okay. Now, the thing is, with these 8 basic emotions, and based on the wheel of emotion that Mr. Plunkett actually came out with, you'll see how they feed, or they provide nourishment to these other emotions, which creates a kind of a spectrum of emotion, okay? Almost like a rainbow type of thing of emotion. And each one feeds into another one and feeds into another one and feeds into another one, to where you have an entire huge wheel of emotional states that a person can be in that kind of play off of each other. And how, what in his study, and I don't want to get deep into his study because that gets a little bit more into the psychological or psychiatric type of studies. But in his models, he talks about how having one emotion based on how you receive it, how you take it in, what you decide to do cognitively with it determines how you're going to feel about it. And then based on how you feel about it determines how you're going to act on it. Okay. So an emotional stimuli comes at me. Let's say I'm watching a movie and the movie makes me angry. Okay. So let's say, for example, I remember going to see, I think it was, Menace to Society. I think that was a movie. I was a young man, of course, when that movie came out. I went to go see it at the show. Yeah, I actually saw that at the show. That's how old I am. So Menace to Society comes out. I go with some friends of mine. We go in there, and the movie was so emotionally charged. You got this gang violence kind of thing going on. You got this hood kind of violence, and these young boys who didn't really care a whole lot about life, and one's trying to get out of the hood, and another one doesn't want to go anywhere except the hood. And there's this clash that goes on. The boy who's trying to rise up and get out, he gets killed. All this kind of stuff happens. Well, anyway, when we came out of the show, all right, when we came out of the movie theater, you're talking about there was all kinds of noise, and I thought there was going to be a riot in the parking lot, and I was almost right along with them. Yeah, man, I can't believe it. It just created a rage in all of these young people that saw that movie. And we're all out in the parking lot, people that we didn't even know. Everybody just angry and mad and upset because it created an emotional stimulus that hit us. It hit us. It was something that we could identify with in some way, shape, or form, whether it was just the energy that was on the screen or something that related to what we were living in our own personal environments. And then with that happening, we cognitively interpreted that, yeah, I should be mad too. We didn't even know what we were being mad about. We didn't even know what to be mad about. We were just mad because everybody in the movie was mad. And we came out and we were mad and we were angry and people were yelling and screaming and hollering for nothing. But the bigger issue was, after receiving that emotional stimuli, taking it in, cognitively discerning what was going on in some way, as juvenile as it was, and then we chose to act on it a particular way. So now, acting on it, here we go. We are yelling and screaming at each other for nothing. For nothing. Just a movie we went to go see. Just a movie. But it did all of that. That's how many people are living their lives unaware. And because we don't talk about it much, we don't realize that, yes, as much as I have to manage my schedule, which we will be talking about next week with my wife again, by the way, having a work-life balance. I have to manage my schedule. I have to manage, which means I have to manage my time. I have to manage my for example, my money. Everybody has to manage your own finances, right? But then here's something else that we need to manage: our emotion. Then let's take that and set that in its own little square for just a moment. I see some more people joining on. Hey, I see my father, Pastor Alfred C. Wilson Sr. I love you, sir. Thank you so much for watching, Dad. I love you. Talking about emotion today, y'all. If I learn how to manage that, just like I manage everything else, I take time to find out how many bills I have. Let's say, for example, okay, I manage my bills. I have this bill, and this bill. I have lights, I have water, I have whatever, mortgage or rent, I have insurance, all of this, and I have to properly plan to say, okay, with the financial resources I have to put this much over here, I have to put that much over there, I have to put some of this toward this particular bill, and all along until I have to make sure that I'm distributing it in a way to where everything is going to be covered and I don't go under. Same has to happen with your emotions. You have to take a look at every situation. It may sound challenging. It may sound boring. It may sound like, oh my gosh, who wants to take the time to do that? We all need to take the time to do that. So then I have to figure out, okay, here's a situation over here that happened. What is this situation? I was expecting someone to do something for me like they said they would, but now they're not going to be able to do it. I have to now apply out of my own reserve of emotions. What am I going to apply to this? Am I going to apply anger? Am I going to apply joy? Probably not. Am I going to apply sadness? Maybe a little. Am I going to apply sympathy? Maybe so. Because maybe I can consider their situation and determine that it wasn't their fault that they couldn't do what they said they would be able to do for me. So now what I need to do is apply the proper amount of sympathy, apply the proper amount of sadness, apply the proper amount of some of these other feelings that may be there. Okay, so and they all stem from, like I said, those 8 emotions on that emotional wheel. Right? So anticipation, I have to apply the right amount of anticipation to begin with. I have to apply the right amount of trust. That's an emotion. Okay, how do you apply the right amount of trust? Some people say, well, I can't trust this person to do anything. I can't trust that person to do this. I can't trust people. I heard somebody say one time, I don't have friends because you can't trust friends. No. Listen. That's an improper application of emotional maintenance. Can I say it that way? Is it all right? Are you listening to me out there, y'all? Come on, respond to me. Are you dealing with what I'm dealing with? Okay, so how do I look at that properly? I think of it this way. I can trust everybody. I can trust everybody. Al, that's because you're naive. No, Al trusts people based on what he knows he can trust them with. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If you are always going to be 20 minutes late showing up to everything that I invite you to, then what can I trust about you? Can I trust you to be on time? No, but I can trust that you're going to be 20 minutes late. You see, so I know where to trust you with that. If I know that if I tell you something, you can't keep a secret any better than you can hold water in a bucket full of holes at the bottom, then I know what to trust you with. I know what information I can share with you. I'm not going to discard you. I'm not going to throw you away. I'm not going to toss you out in the garbage. No, I'm going to know what I can trust you with and what I cannot trust you with. Or let me say it this way. I know how much I can trust you with, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, because I said I can trust everybody, right? So if all I can trust you with is information about, let's just say, how my day went, then that's the information that I share with you. I do not share with you personal, detailed information that would become a problem for me if it was to fall into the wrong hands, because somebody might try to misuse it or use it against me. You see, so then I need to know how I can trust you. I need to know how I can trust you. And as you start to pay attention to people in your life, they will show you how you can trust them. Makes sense? Makes sense? Does that make sense? If you learn the people around you, how you can trust them, you will not get so angry with them. They will not disappoint you so badly. Sometimes we are lending ourselves to be hurt. We are lending ourselves to be frustrated, aggravated, oh, I can't believe. And now your whole day is messed up. Your whole week is messed up. Maybe your whole month is messed up. Maybe your business suffers because you put yourself in a place to where you did not know how to manage your own emotions. You tried to trust everybody the same way, and you can't do it. Here's another situation that pops up. I'm all nicely dressed. I'm ready to go for, let's say, a job interview. Okay. And on the way to the job interview, my car breaks down. So now I got to get out there or change a tire or something. And now, because this happened, I take it as, why did this happen to me? This happened to me. Everything is just happening to me. No. Get a hold of yourself. You need to shake yourself, slap yourself, and get back into the right mindset. No, everything is not happening to you. Yes, maybe it feels like it, but that's because we have not practiced handling our emotions. It was going to happen eventually to somebody. You just so happen to be the person that it happened to that day. Maybe that nail was in the road and your tire just so happened to find it. It was not personal. But now you have to learn how to instead of letting that throw you off and get you so upset that when you do reach your destination, now you're just a grenade of emotion ready to explode on anybody who comes your way. No, take it for what it's for. Realize, okay, that happened. There's nothing I can do about it. Now, let me go ahead and deal with the situation. Let me process it. Or even if maybe I need to process it and deal with it later emotionally, but I need to stop it right now. You have that ability. You have that ability. See, and again, that's what separates us between animals. Okay. We are not evolved from, okay, I'm not trying to get into philosophy. We are, okay. When you take an animal, any animal, you back them into a corner. Two things are going to happen. Because they are instinctive creatures, because they react and act on instincts, they are going to try to protect themselves. They're going to come out fighting, or they're going to retreat. It's automatically instinctive. They're not trying to figure out what angle you're coming at them with. If you run up on a honey badger, he's not trying to say, well, what did I do to him? No, all he's going to think is fight, protect, destroy if I can, and if I can't, run. That's all he's thinking about. If we think the same way, we're no better than animals. So we have to utilize what we have been given by God, and that is think it through, process it. Y'all want some scripture on that? Some of y'all church Bible folk, bring every thought under captivity unto the obedience of Jesus Christ. Does that make sense for you? Can you deal with that? Okay. You have to take every thought that comes into your mind, process it, and say, wait a minute, where's this thought coming from? Is this my thought? Is this a thought I want to entertain? Is this a thought I want to keep in my mind? Is this a thought I want to play around with? Or is this a thought that I know does not glorify God? It does not help anybody. It's not going to better me spiritually. So maybe I just need to go ahead and kick that thought out. Okay. Doesn't sound like something you want to do with every single thought that comes in your mind, but that's exactly what we are told to do. So the better you get at doing it, the easier it becomes. And now it's like second nature, and you can think faster. It does not throw you off so quickly. It does not get you so upset and emotionally frustrated and distraught. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about, learning how to place the proper amount of emotion on the right thing. So, okay, maybe things didn't go your way. Maybe you didn't get the job that you wanted. Maybe that person didn't come through. So yeah, I can apply a little bit of sadness to that. It's okay, but not too much. Too much sadness is going to cause me to go into some type of emotional state that I don't want to be in. I might get locked in that state for too long. Too much anger about it will cause me to possibly miss something that's coming down the road. Too much sympathy for that person might let them off the hook when maybe they needed to be corrected. And maybe it was better for them if you corrected them and say, hey, listen, I was trusting you to do this or that, and you said you were going to do it, and unfortunately, because you didn't, now this is the state that I'm in. Maybe that person needs to hear that so that they can correct themselves and get themselves back in line. So you've got to apply the right amount of emotion to the situation in order to get the expected outcome if you desire a positive outcome. You've got to first know what kind of outcome you want. Al, that seems like a whole lot of work. Well, initially it is. It is a lot of work. Why are you talking about this? Because we can get a whole lot further in life. We can experience more opportunities, find ourselves in places where we can get more opportunities if you learn how to simply handle or control or manage your emotion. Manage your emotion. For those of you who are just joining us, thank you again for watching. This is Coaching by Al. I am your host, Al Wilson Jr., and I want to remind you that you can support this program. If you feel like you're getting something out of it, if it's being a blessing to you, many times we listen and we soak up information, we soak up knowledge, and we forget that somebody put in some time to be able to bring this information to you. And so, just to show a way of showing a thank you, a way of showing support is to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to give something maybe on a regular basis. Maybe every single month I'll send $10 or $20 or $50 or $100, or maybe I'll just go ahead and take care of the whole season. Okay, if that's something that you want to do, contact me in the comments section, or you can go to Coaching by Al LLC. Put the little $ in front of it. Those of you who have Cash App, and you can give that way. If you say, well, Al, I don't have Cash App, but I still would like to be able to give something because I am getting something out of it, then just put it in the comments section right underneath the video and say, hey, you know what? I do want to give. How do I give? How do I support your program? I would be more than happy to give you a way to do so. And if I don't have the way that fits you or suits you, I'll come pick it up. Okay. So I'm serious about this. If you feel like you're getting something out of this, and if you feel like this is something that can be a blessing to other people, just the basic information that I'm sharing, then find a way in your heart to support it. Okay? To support. Give to what you're receiving from, and then you can receive more. Sounds familiar? Okay. I thank you so much. Consider that. Let's get back into what we're talking about. Applying the right amount of emotion. Now, here's another situation where we have to learn how to apply the right amount of emotion. Let's say you accomplish something. Okay, let's say you're known for being a person who procrastinates a lot. All right, you are a professional procrastinator. You make up in your mind, hey, I am going to finish this particular project on time. I don't care if it's something as simple as washing the dishes or folding the clothes or whatever it is. Let's say you do that and you actually accomplish what you set out to do. You did not procrastinate. You did not put it off. You took care of it right away. You folded those clothes as soon as they came out of the dryer, or you washed those dishes before you went to bed, or maybe you whatever it was, you finished your term paper on time. Instead of going out to play first, you did the work first. You completed it. And then now you're able to take a release, a break. You're able to congratulate yourself a little bit. You take a moment and you feel proud. Well, you also have to be able to apply the right amount of emotion in that situation. Because if you apply too much joy or happiness, if you apply too much feeling of satisfaction to it, guess what happens? You plateau and you get stuck up there, and now you feel like you've accomplished something. So now I don't have to, I get a get out of jail free card is what I call it. Where you're excited, you feel so good that you've done something good that now you feel like you can just, release for the rest of the weekend. You don't have to do anything else responsibly for the rest of the weekend. That's how people sometimes handle things. I used to do that in earlier years. Let's say, for instance, and I'm trying to give you a good idea of what I'm talking about so you can see the impact that it can have. Let's say you're driving down the freeway. Okay, I'll use that as one. You're driving down the freeway, and you're just learning how to drive. Let's take it from that perspective. You're driving. You feel like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. Everything is good. I'm at a nice speed. Everything is going nice and calm and relaxed and good. I feel accomplished. I am controlling the car. I'm driving. So guess what you do now? Because you feel like you've done such a good job, you say, well, I don't need to, do anything right now. You throw your hands behind your head. You kick your feet up. You lay your head back. And now nobody's driving the car because I did so good for this 5 or 6, 7, 8 miles that now I'm done. I can take a break now. Guess what's going to happen? Yeah, you can see it already, can't you? Crash. Why? Because you were living on an emotional status that was too high for the situation. Al, that is not making close enough sense to my. Okay, let me reel it in, Al. Reel it in. Bring it back to something I can deal with. Your job. Your boss calls you into the office. Your boss says, "Hey, listen, I just want to tell you that you did really good on this project that I assigned you to, or your workload. You've been knocking it out of the box. You've been doing everything just right. I really appreciate that. I just want to let you know that was a great job. Thank you so much for being such a team player. I really appreciate it." Okay, now here you come. You come out of the office, you feel like you've done something super duper wonderful, and now because you feel like you've done such a great job, you kind of get a little too relaxed. That's applying too much joy or too much happiness or too much affirmation emotionally that causes you now to slack off. And guess what's going to happen next week? You're going to get called back in the office and say, hey, guess what happened? What happened? You were doing such a good job. This week you completely fell off. Well, I thought I was doing so good. No, that's not going to be a good answer. So you have to learn how to apply the right amount of emotion in that situation. Now, I know this may not seem like the most exciting thing to talk about, but if you really listen to what I'm saying and you get it in your mind that, yes, we have to be able to manage our emotions properly, you will see how it really can make a difference in your life. It can make a huge difference in your life. It will make a huge difference in your life, whether you do or whether you don't. Too many of us are experiencing circumstances in our own life, maybe growing up, where somebody did not handle their emotions properly. Many of you maybe are dealing with growing up in a home that was divided because somebody do not handle their emotions of seeing somebody who maybe was attractive to them, instead of it staying right there and saying, hey, that person's a very nice looking person. No, they decided to let their emotional state override them. They applied too much excitement or enthusiasm to that emotion, and now a house is divided because somebody stepped out on someone else. So now the divorce took place. The children had to be raised in two different households. How many of you have experienced that? You see what I'm saying? All of those kind of things happened because somebody did not manage their emotions. So we've got to get under our skin or under our brain, inside ourselves, that we have to do a better job of managing these types of things. It's absolutely necessary. It's absolutely necessary. The society we live in will be so much. How many wars have taken place because of unchecked emotions? Come on, people. You hear me. I know you do. So that's all I want to talk to you about today. In this coming week, I want you to do something. I want you to take a look at each situation that you're dealing with. Maybe write it down. Okay, this is what's happening with me today. I'm having an issue with my bills. I'm having an issue with my relationship. I'm having an issue with my job, or I'm having an issue with transportation, or I'm having whatever it is, maybe a physical issue that you're dealing with. Okay, something where your body is not physically. Well, let's just say maybe you need some healing in your body in a particular place. How much emotion are you applying to that? Is it too much? Is it too little? There could be some of us who are not applying enough anticipation. That's one of those 8 emotions to our physical body. When we need to get something checked out, we don't. And we say, oh, well, I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm not going to go to the hospital. I'm not going to go get it looked at. It's not a big deal. Or something's going on and you're not dealing with it. That's what I'm talking about. Not applying the right amount of emotion to it. Okay. Whereas on the other extreme, there are people who, their fingernail breaks and they got to go to the ER, applying too much. You see what I'm saying? That can become a big issue. That can become a big problem. And so getting the right balance on it is what it takes. Maybe you need to read a little bit about managing emotions. Maybe you need to read a little bit more of the Word of God. Hello, somebody out there, okay? Maybe you need to get with someone who can say, hey, listen, we're going to be accountable to each other. I'm going to check you if I see that you are applying too much or too little emotion to this situation over here. And you can do the same for me. If I seem like I'm getting out of line with myself, then you feel free to tell me about it. If you need to slap me upside the head, if you need to, clock me a couple times, do so. Whatever it is, so that I can stay on the straight and narrow, do that. That's what you and I need. We need to be able to do that. Okay. How does it affect our bottom line? If I come into a situation with a potential client, and because for some reason they had a bad morning at home and they come to meet me for a business dealing, and they seem a little rude, a little short with me, and I take it personally, applying too much anger or sadness or whatever the emotion is, if I apply too much of it to that, I might miss a very successful business venture or financial deal that could have taken place had I learned how to handle my emotions better. You see what I'm saying? I might have been able to say, okay, wait a minute, before I jump to conclusions, let me be calm. Let me apply a little bit of diplomacy. Let me apply a little bit of customer service experience. And now I can hear this person out and maybe recognize that there's something going on in their life, and they're not trying to be mean to me on purpose. They're just dealing with something, and I can let them go ahead and get that out. Now I can really, now that they've gotten that out, now we can get back to talking about business and conclude this deal so that both parties walk away happy. You see what I'm saying? That's what we need. That's what we need to do. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. before you jump to conclusions about what's going on in somebody's life, take a look at your emotions first. What state are you in, and can you control that a little bit better? And then take a look at that person and say, okay, what state are they in? Maybe I don't know all the situation. Maybe I don't want to know all the situation, but I do know that possibly there could be something wrong that I don't know about. And before I turn them into a villain, I could listen. I could be a little bit more supportive, and I can show some love. I can apply some love a little. I can let them vent a little bit if they need to, and then I can shut that down because too much venting is bad. And then I can encourage them and help them get back on track with their emotional state. It's something we all need to do for each other. So I hope you got something out of today. I really do. I want to remind you again that you can have your own program right here on Worship Radio International. All you have to do is go to worshipradio.faith. There's a telephone number on there. There's an email address on there. You can get in contact with Miss Linda Hunt, and she handles executive sales. Or you could look to see whether it could be a program. Maybe you have a book in mind that you would like to publish, and you want to talk with someone about that. That's also where you go, worshipradio.faith. Get that information. Yascribe Publishing. Listen, this is a one-stop shop at this place here, okay? Radio show, television show, eventually, I'm talking about it. Publishing, printing, web hosting, whatever it is you need, you can find it all right here. I want you to check them out and tell them Al sent you when you do, okay? Listen, I had a good time today. I hope, again, that this has helped you. Emotions. Last story before we go. I was in a parking lot of a football field, and there were some young guys outside, and they had this song playing, and I don't know the whole song, but I remember hearing this hook that they were just repeating over and over. I go 0 to 100 real quick. I go 0 to 100 real quick. And what they're talking about was I can go from being really cool to being really angry in a flash. So don't come at me wrong, because I can go from 0 to 100 real quick. You know what that is? That is unchecked emotion. I'm going to tell you a little secret before we go. Men are more emotional than women. But we talk about women being emotional because we don't want to talk about ourselves being emotional. We'll talk about that another time. Learn how to handle your emotion. Pay attention to it. Am I giving too much happiness to it? Am I giving too much sadness? Am I giving too much anger, frustration? Am I giving too much disgust? All of this, when I really could just consider that maybe it's not such a big deal after all, and everybody can go home happy. Okay? Listen, that's it for me. I got about 15 seconds. Again, to my wife and to my daughter, I love you. To my pastor, my father, Alfred C. Wilson Jr., Sr., I love you. And to the whole God's Holy Temple Church family and everybody watching, I love you. See you next week. Check those emotions.
This is Prophet Blaine, and you are listening to Worship Radio International, the world's #1 online Christian radio station.